The Silk Report.
As smooth as silk.
Good evening, good morning, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whichever part of the world you're in. These are my notes for this evening's show. Partly because I've just got back to my hotel after a day at Roland Garros, in which there were two men's semi-finals. I saw both of them in their entirety, but also partly because I think it's really tough in how do you begin? How do you explain? How do you talk about what happened today in so many respects? And of course, mostly I'm thinking about the first men's semi-final. I think, and for those of you that aren't aware of what happened, Alexander Zverev unfortunately had to retire through injury, an injury that was immediate and almost obvious when it occurred, that this is not something that he's going to be recovering from in the next few minutes or the next few hours. The scream with which he gave, I think, was apparent both on TV but also in Philippe Chatrier. So it was a kind of a surreal end to what was developing into a very intriguing match. Intriguing on two levels. Intriguing because both players were a long way from their best. Intriguing because despite the fact that Rafa was 1 set to love up, was looking leggy, was not producing his best, was looking interesting because Sasha Zverev, for 6 games at the beginning of the match, was really at his best, but then fell off a cliff. And in the second set, found himself serving for the set and found himself doing stuff. And thanks for sharing the screen there. But, it was just such a surreal end to the match there with obviously Zverev obviously not even being able to go off the court on crutches, that he actually needed a wheelchair. And you're thinking, okay, we are in a situation here where we're not going to be talking about a few minutes off the court and he comes back on and we're wondering if he can continue. We're looking at weeks out of the game, if you like, weeks out of the sport. So how do you analyze that? What do you talk about? How do you begin a report, if you like, regarding the two men's semi-finals, of which this was the first? Well, let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about the injury. Let's talk about Sasha Zverev. Let's talk about his performance until that point, but also about maybe even really what led to it. How can we solve the issue? Because I think it is an issue, but it's not one that really we thought about until today. Maybe other people did in the game. In fact, I'm sure there are people in the game, but really this issue at Roland Garros with the roof option, which has only been an option since 2020, by the way, and was used, of course, in 2020 during the cold winter months of that first time, and used on occasion in 2021, and used occasionally again more. That match could have been between, let's say, two healthy performers. That match could have gone 7 hours. Is that crazy to suggest? Bearing in mind, we were well over 3 hours. And we hadn't reached the conclusion of the second set. So let's imagine we reach a conclusion of the second set, and then there's a 5-minute break, for example, somebody goes off court. Let's imagine it's 1 set all, and we are 3.5 hours down. Are you telling me that it's impossible to suggest that couldn't go 7 hours? That's really an issue. It's an issue. Is it why Zverev got injured today? I think it's impossible to tell. Is it why certain things are going on? It's impossible to tell. But what isn't impossible to tell is this good for the players? And I think they have to come first. Is it good for the viewers? Is it good for anyone to have matches that are this elongated? I suggest no. What is the solution, however? I'm not so sure. Let me see what you have to say about that in the chat. I'm going to come to you. Yeah, would have been a 7-hour match otherwise, as Mike affirms there. Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a problem. It's not something to be proud of. We talk about that Djokovic-Nadal final at Australia in 2012, and that's okay as a unique event in terms of the both of them were just colossuses of the game. Going into a 6th hour, I think it was. Did it go past 6 hours? I'm not sure, but that was insane, and that was on a hard court, by the way. And given the conditions today, this easily could have gone 7 hours, and that's insane. Yes, the humidity, the closed roof. Some people might say that today's injury was just waiting to happen on one side of the net or the other. So this is something I think, and I don't blame anyone. There's a big blame game going on right now, and people seem to be really keen on pointing the finger of blame at Amalie Mauresmo at every single opportunity. And I'm not quite on that bandwagon as some people are. But I think this is an issue, and we're probably realizing it now more than ever today. What are the possible solutions to it? I think one possible thing is to maybe allow breaks at the end of a set. How would you do that? Don't know. Does that improve the fan experience? Probably not, because you're still going to be giving the players 10 minutes of break, but then you're still looking at a 7-hour match. Should the matches be delayed? And I know they've spent millions on the roof, but maybe the roof at Roland Garros is less necessary. And I don't mean this because of any other reason, but I think the roof does mean that the match becomes more stodgy, the play becomes more stodgy, it's slower, and suddenly we're looking at longer rallies. Of course, there was a 44-point rally, and I know the US Open last year had a 60-odd exchange rally between Zverev and Djokovic, but the match was still over in 5.5 hours, I think. So there are certainly ways around this. I haven't given it a huge amount of thought, but I'm starting to wonder if the roof at Roland Garros is really necessary. They've already got 15 days. We've already got the super tie break, if you like. So we're not going to be talking about John Isner, where we're going into 3 days and 76 all or whatever. We've already got a situation where breaks of serve do occur. You know, I almost feel as though it won't happen because they've spent so much money on the roof. But I almost feel as though actually we should just play when we can have the roof open, because then at least the speed will get a bit quicker. Okay, depends on the rain, is what Kathy there is saying. They need air conditioning if they use the roof. Yeah, maybe. It depends on the rain, definitely, yeah. But will the roof be close to the final? Good question there, Margarita. I believe there's a very good chance of rain on Sunday, and so therefore, yes. I'm not sure how Rafa Nadal will feel about that, but anyway, I'd say he got injured due to the ball conditions, poor guy. Yeah, maybe. We'll never know. It could have just been an unfortunate situation. What I will say is it is rare in tennis that you get a match-ending injury immediate. We often see match-ending injuries that occur either through the passage of time, either through illness or sickness or a rib injury or a pulled muscle, and you're like, okay, and they suddenly you're watching a match and a player is taking a medical timeout, and you're like, oh, I didn't expect that medical timeout to occur because things seem to be okay. Occasionally as well, you might see a fall and you see something occur, player goes off the court, player runs back on, gives it their best. And sometimes, by the way, their best is good enough to win the match. And sometimes it isn't. It's very rare that we see a situation like we saw today where it's just like a boom moment. And that's ligaments or a bone injury. And that's almost apparent immediate. I mean, you heard the scream. You heard him. You saw him try on the shoulders of two people. And once you're thinking, two people on the shoulders is not enough to go off the court. and the wheelchair comes out. And Nadal mentioned it in his post-match speech of it was like, it's really tough to see your opponent, your colleague in the dressing room in a semi-final of a Grand Slam in tears, because now it brings me to the match. And let me know your thoughts on the match until that point, because I raised an issue with the GTL guys at the end of the first set, saying it was a match high on drama and low on quality. And I stand by that. I think we had an unbelievable tiebreak. At the end of the first set. But Zverev leading 6-2, a serve bot. But he's more than a serve bot, but he's an unbelievable server. And his serve was working very well during that first set. And he gets 2 shots on his own serve as well as 2 on Rafa's serve to win that set. And he doesn't do it. He's a breakup as well in that first set. Doesn't do it. Second set, equally weird, equally stodgy from both players, by the way. I think Rafa had about 15 minutes of top level Rafa, from 6-2 down at the end of the first set to around about 2-1 up in the second set, albeit he did lose his serve at the beginning of that set, but he managed to break twice. That period was unbelievable from Rafa, but the rest was just a non-event in so many weird ways. Kind of agree. So it was that kind of agree, but I still feel like second set was a lot worse than the first. Yeah, that's fair nostalgia. I will agree with that. The second set was worse from both players, and I don't know if the conditions were responsible for that. But my point at the end of the first set was that Zverev should have won it. He should have won that first set. And if he wins the first set, and he's up a break on a couple of occasions during the second set, and then even then, if we're going into a tie break, because now we're talking about the match, well, then we're talking about a completely different situation. Whereas Zverev put himself, and also during that second set, the serve from Zverev, I mean, it must have filled Rafa with so much confidence, knowing that he could play as badly as that, and he just knew that his opponent would break down. And yet during rallies, once a rally got going, in the first set and also the second set, Zverev's mentality was unbelievable. Backhand winners. The forehand, of course, would occasionally break down, but was generally okay. Nadal said after the match that basically he's got the best backhand in tennis right now. And it's hard to disagree with that. But boy, Rafa didn't do a single double fault until right towards the end of what turned out to be the match. And I think there were quite a few double faults from Zverev. Well, there was one match when he got broken, when he did, I think, 3 double faults in the same game. And one of which even just came off the ring of his racket. And Nadal. Did Nadal produce his best? Well, I've been watching Rafa Nadal for almost 20 years. And let me tell you now, for 15 minutes, he produced his best tennis. For the other 2.5 hours, forget it. So, if we're talking about quality, and that's what I mentioned at the end of the first set, I mention again right now, it wasn't there. Now, who knows how the match would have panned out? I'm interested to know, actually. I know it's speculative, but that's what we're here for. How do you think the rest of the match would have panned out? It's living in a fantasy, but I really put it as 50-50. Capricorn there saying, Zverev, great match. It's chances in that match. Couldn't agree more. Is it confirmed that Rafa will miss Wimbledon? Not confirmed. But I know Marca, the Spanish sports newspaper, are suggesting that is the case. And I didn't expect him to play Wimbledon 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. My expectations are even less. Game to Love saying, yes, it is confirmed. Yes, it's confirmed from the Marca report. Or yes, it's confirmed. That's my question. I know there was this Marca story, but apparently it's been refuted. So let's see about that. But my thoughts are that whether it's confirmed or not, but has Rafa actually said Yeah, I just read it in Marco as well. Exactly the same. I haven't heard that from Rafa himself or from anyone close to Rafa's team. But as JP Pedrosa says there, 97. Yeah, I read it in Marco as well, and I expect it to be the case, whether it gets reviewed for the next couple of days or not. I know there's this talk about Rafa and winning this tournament means he could be on for the calendar slam, but yeah, and that is a small motivation, but it's probably even less for Rafa than it is for the people that support him. But also, if it's like, listen, you can't keep doing this. What we're doing, this treatment with the foot to get you through the French Open. Okay, I've neglected the tweets and comments and stuff a bit. Anna Ivanovic there, of course, the former player. She said, get well soon, Sasha. Wishing you a speedy recovery, Roland Garros. And I think Zverev, of course, has some people that support him, some people that don't. I'm not necessarily a fan of his, but I didn't want that match to end that way. I didn't want to see that way, and I would have loved to have the match to be finished on the court, whichever way that would have worked out. And so, yeah, I understand Anna Ivanovic there in what she's saying. Of course, her husband is Bastian Schweinsteiger, the German football player, so I'm sure they were probably together both supporting Alex Zverev today, and I can understand their disappointment. A little funny tweet here. When he started out as a Bjorn Borg fan and you've transitioned into a Rafa Nadal fan, as a nice little image there at 5-all deuce. And by the way, 5-all deuce in a way is kind of, I don't know, did it not feel like 5-all deuce for about 3 hours? Is that not how the whole match felt for you and I? Let me know what you think about that in the chat. It just felt like, well, Rafa's got a small advantage. Rafa's wasted a small advantage. Zverev has got an advantage here. Zverev's looking on top. He's blown it. Rafa's back in the match now. Rafa's going to crush this now. Rafa doesn't crush this. Now we're back to Zverev. Back in the game, but Rafa still got the advantage. Wow, Zverev is a break-up. It was just like that throughout. And are you telling me you have any clue how that tie-break would have worked out? Don't know. Let's have a look at this. Mike is saying the court was too humid and slow. That's why the weirdness, quite possibly. But what's the solution? Abandon the roof permanently at Roland Garros? Maybe. They're never going to do that. They're never going to. That might be the best solution because, to be honest with you, maybe they just don't need the roof there. Unless they're going to have a tournament in October, which, of course, occurred during the pandemic. And fingers crossed we don't have any more pandemics on the horizon. But really, you don't need a roof at Roland Garros. You don't need it. Wimbledon, this is not an issue because the courts are so fast there anyway. It may slow things down, but it won't slow things down too much. We're still going to have the super tiebreaker anyway. Boom. We're not going to get 40, 50 shot rallies either at Wimbledon. So, but at this tournament, yeah, 15 days to get it done. 15 complete days as well. No days off. You're fine. You don't need the roof in summer in Paris. And if it does ever occur, and I don't think it ever would, but whatever, you play Monday. You play Monday the final, as we did once at Wimbledon 19 years ago, I think it was, when or 20 years ago when 19 years ago when you had that final between Pat Rafter and Ivanisevic. So be it. Much better that than, and a people's final no less, than have players playing for 7 hours and risking injury. Mike, they're saying, wouldn't miss Wimby if he wasn't injured. Right, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so. Roof for emergency use only if they get in real scheduling issues. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's what I would say. I mean, maybe looking at the weather today, they knew it was going to be dry by 5 o'clock. Boom. Yeah, that's probably a good halfway thing, that the roof is still justified. It'll still get used, given all the millions that are spent on it. You know, if they get super behind on the scheduling, then so be it. But other than that, no big deal. I guess now we should move on. I don't really know if there's anything else you guys would like to talk about regarding that match, regarding either Zverev. I mean, I guess Zverev now is going to miss Wimbledon. By the way, Wimbledon has really taken on a new twist today, of all, at least, given the fact that it's looking more and more likely that Rafa won't play. Hit the like button, everyone. And by the way, I'd like to know if that's confirmed. GTL, is that confirmed that Rafa's definitely missing Wimbledon? Because I know it was a Marca story, but I'd heard that refuted. But listen, I still think it's going to happen. And Josip there asking, will Zverev be at Wimbledon? I would be amazed. I'm amazed often in tennis, but I would be shocked. Listen, you're on crutches, and what's Wimbledon? 3 weeks away from starting, I think. I'll be amazed. So therefore, we're looking at no Zverev, no Medvedev, and no Khachanov, and no Rublev because of the Russian ban. And we're looking at as well, I think there's somebody else missing on the men's side, but I could be wrong on that. Team, is he going to be there? It's so open really right now, with the exception obviously Djokovic being the hot favorite, but surely Shapovalov, Felix, you've got to be rubbing your hands. You've got to be thinking, this is my time. And we've seen Cilic, for example, in the other semi-final today, and also on previous occasions in Slam, going, this is my time, and he took it. Well, take your chance. And by the way, if it's Felix or Shapo taking their chance, it's Felix. I think there's a video that I think JG would like to play. Am I right on that, JG? If you want, we can play that. This is obviously from Sasha Zverev. I don't know if the audience will be able to hear this, but
hey guys, very difficult moment for me today on the court. Obviously, fantastic match until happened what happened. Looks like I have a very serious injury, but the medical team and the doctors are still checking on it, and we'll keep you updated. We'll let you know as soon as we know more. And I want to congratulate Rafa, obviously, and incredible achievement, 14th final. Hopefully he can go all the way and make some more history. But not an easy moment for me today, and I'll keep everybody updated. See you guys. Hey guys.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty. First of all, regarding Wimbledon, yeah, I think that probably answers that question. And nice of him to say some good words about Rafa. By the way, on German TV today, they were. I wasn't watching, of course, but I heard about it, that they made a comment about Rafa Nadal because he signed the camera. And it was like the German commentators were like, "Oh, he could have said get well soon," or "Sorry, Sasha," or German TV. I think regarding Sasha Zverev has been very disappointing the last 2 years. Let's say that. I'm more than happy to elaborate that on another pod or even just privately. But anyway, listen. Super sad for Zverev today, and as you can tell from his words there, that despite his very positive and kind words towards Rafa, you could just tell that he thought there was a chance today. There was a chance. Let's come to some of your comments before I move on to the other semi-final. Zverev's and the Charmer, yeah. Daniel Medvedev is going to return to number 1 on the 13th of June. Yeah, well, the world rankings and their funny little quirks. Actually, honestly, I know people have commented a lot on the world rankings and how they're organized. I don't know a better way, if I'm honest, than they are currently organized. I'm kind of a fan in a way of how they are done. It makes a lot of sense. And anyway, that's how it is. Djokovic obviously going out in the quarterfinals as opposed to winning it last year. Medvedev will return to number 1 on the 13th of June with Zverev. Zverev goes to number 2. While Djokovic stays on top for 1 more week. Yeah, that's how it is. I guess Nadal is going to be up to number 4. But we'll see how that plays out. Ruud overtakes Alcaraz this Monday. Tsitsipas next Monday, so him being second, real chance. What? So Ruud could be the second seed at Wimbledon? Is that what that's suggesting? Okay, that's curious, and I'm not doubting it. Just wow. Ruud, number 2 seed. So it's a good job. I'm sure Ruud will be really pleased that he's on in the lower half of the draw to avoid the 20-time Grand Slam winner, Novak Djokovic. Okay. Josip there. As a German telegraph, yeah, thank you, Margaret. Great. Anyway, Josip there. What about Cilic ranking? Well, I actually initially read that as what about Cilic cracking rather than ranking. I'm sure he'll be soaring through the rankings, but that brings us to the second semi-final today between Cilic and Casper Ruud. Okay. And of course, by the way, here's a nice little image of Casper Ruud from, I think, says there April 2017, where he says, a childhood dream became reality this week. Thanks for having me at the Rafa and Nadal Academy. Well, that dream took another step further today because Casper Ruud beat Cilic in 4 sets. Cilic, of course, winning the first set, so lots to discuss there. Well, we'll come to Cilic versus Nadal in the final shortly. But we also had another little moment during the match. Let's have a quick moment for this, and then we'll get into the match itself. So midway through the third set, we had a lady come on the court and do a little protest. I think she had a shirt that basically said 1,028 days left. I'm presuming, and I really need some help in the live chat here because actually in the stadium was far less clear, but I'm presuming it was an environmental protest. And I have a few thoughts on this. Again, for some reason, people want to pile in on Amelie Mauresmo for this and all sorts of other issues, which I don't think, A, she's responsible for, and B, this has been an issue at tennis tournaments for many years regarding security. There was this funny moment when it was clear, really, that there was nothing super sinister going on, but the security guys were like a little bit afraid to get within a couple of meters of her, and it was kind of odd. And I was actually on the opposite end of the court, so I couldn't see the 1,028 days thing that she had written on her shirt. She also very cleverly and smartly attached herself to the net. That also happened kind of. Wasn't clear to me when it happened. It was like, oh, okay. I think she's attached herself to the net, and she's not just attached herself in a sort of an attachment to an email that doesn't quite work and a paper clip. She had seemed to attach herself pretty well, and it was just an odd moment and kind of amusing, and fine. And to be honest with you, there was also another thing in the crowd that sort of bothered me a bit. They were sort of seemed to be more on the security and the official side and the booing of her and supporting of the officials. I think she got taken off, for example, in a sort of a stretcher type manner, albeit one without a stretcher. And I don't know, it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, not that big a deal in terms of what occurred. I tweeted at the time, it's a high-risk tweet. I tweeted saying, probably her cause is probably bigger than anything else. I had no clue what her cause could have been. Her cause could have been something really rubbish, but I just had a feeling that her cause was probably quite noble. Maybe we should listen to her cause a bit more. I'm not going to use this as a platform to talk much more on that, but no big deal. Did it disrupt the match? A bit. Did it disrupt Casper Ruud's momentum? Not at all. Should we talk about climate change more in tennis? Yeah, maybe we should, JG, and we'll probably have a separate pod for that one day. Jack Darby there. Can we talk about the match? Absolutely, we can, Jack. And let's get into that right now. Sorry, just so many other things going on today. Listen, what I would say is, and I'll come back to this image because I think it probably sums things up pretty well. Casper Ruud was unbelievable for 3 sets. Maybe there was a slight dip in that 4th set, but his level was high. We're not talking about a guy who just slogged it out, managed to make sure he did less unforced errors than his opponent, blah, blah, blah. Cilic, yes. Will Cilic have some regrets? I think so. There was a few smashes that went awry, especially one that went straight into the net, which seemed to be harder to put it into the net than put it back in court. But I also think that was exactly during the same period when Ruud's level just went vroom. And Ruud's level going vroom also means that what can Cilic do? Well, Cilic's only option, therefore, is to take more risks and aim for that line much more and much harder. And so suddenly Cilic has got not an open court, but he's got an easy forehand, if you like. And he's not going with power down the middle of the court. He's not going with power towards the line. He's going with power on the line. And of course, Cilic can be a bit wayward, and that occurred. Let's have a quick look to see what you're saying in the live chat about that particular match. What's more likely, Ruud or Coco winning? Oh, that's a great question from JG57. Nice to have you on board, JG57. Hope to see you again tuning in. I think that's a really tough question because I think they're both at about 20%. Before the tournament, I had Iga as a heavier favorite to win the women's side of the draw than Rafa on the men's side. But now we've got the finals. We've got Coco is more likely to win. There you go. Yeah, Coco's more likely to win. I just think that with Iga, the run's got to come to an end at some point. This is not me predicting. I think Iga and Rafa will both win their finals. But I think that there's just more random possibilities that could lead Coco to winning. Let me know what you think in the chat, whether you think I'm crazy. JG, they're saying Ruud more likely for me. Oh, JG, call yourself a Rafa fan. Oh, by the way, those of you out there obviously keen to know regarding white wine update. Tonight's wine is much better. I had a few more options, got there in better time, and decided tonight. I also pushed the boat out a bit more on the price tonight. So, yeah, tonight I was also at a slightly bigger supermarket, so got a slightly better wine. I'm sure you're really keen to know that. Charlie G27, then Nadal may be injured. I think you're just referring to his overall condition there. Yeah, that's a consideration. Jack Darby there. Coco slightly more likely, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question because it's tough. Joe Gann there. Since Rafa's never played Ruud before, I predict he'll drop the first set till he figures out Casper's game. Yes, Joe, that's a great point. And I was wondering this tonight, or before even the semi-final, which is the more difficult opponent for Rafa? Would it be Ruud or would it be Cilic? I'm not sure. Ruud's never played before, but Ruud's never been in a slam final before. Imagining that Ruud and Cilic's levels are quite similar in a way. I know Ruud may be slightly higher in many respects, especially on this surface, but then Cilic has also been in slam finals before. You know what? This is not something that is in Rafa's computer. Rafa's computer is all about how Rafa plays, none more so than on Sunday. And yeah, we'll look forward to that. Rafa's warm favorite, but that's how it is. Problem is, Ruud is kind of like a worse version of Rafa, which is Rafa's ideal opponent. We'll see. We've never seen them play against each other, so we'll see. Weather look bad for both finals. Storms predict again. Yeah, I'm certainly for Sunday, but what about tomorrow's match between Iga and Coco? So in a way, that probably brings us ideally to what we've got coming up on Game to Love tomorrow. let me give my Silk Report thoughts on this match. Fire in your thoughts as well. Also, fire in your thoughts about anything else we've discussed today, or even the French Open in general. Felix will be 5th seed at Wimby. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, though, regarding Felix's seeding at Wimbledon, I think it's all about, are you in Djokovic's half or are you not? And if he's if you're 17th seed at Wimbledon, but you fancy your chances on grass, and you're in the opposite half to Djokovic, then you're probably quite happy with that. If you're 2nd seed, if you're 5th seed, or whatever seed you are, probably that's your main thing at Wimbledon this year, because there's just so few top 10 players they're going to be playing that tournament, or top 6 players they're going to be playing that tournament, top 10, yeah. So Storm again on Saturday, Josip. I wasn't aware of that. I hadn't checked the weather, but it is feeling very, what's the word? Very close is the word, but that's probably a Norfolk English term in terms of the weather here. Very sticky, very humid, and I feel as though the storms are still to come. Wasn't aware that tomorrow as well was going to be the case. So therefore, I guess the roof will be on, but at least it'll be 3 sets maximum. Do you think it'll go 3 sets tomorrow? Do you think Swiatek will drop a set? I'm going to go for Swiatek in straight sets. That's my crazy out there prediction. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Coco Gauff managed to get her teeth into this match. I think she pushed Swiatek to a tiebreaker last year in Rome, and I know Swiatek ultimately won that match in straight sets, but it was tight in that. I think it was the first set when it went to a tiebreaker, and arguably Coco Gauff pushed her more than anyone else in the tournament, especially bearing in mind how comfortably Iga won the final with a bagel, at least one bagel in that final. Against, I think, Pliskova. I'm excited. And by the way, Michelle Obama tweeted today, all for Coco. I'm on the Coco bandwagon. And you know what? So am I. Michelle. And I'm sure Michelle Obama, big fan of the GTL thing going on, Game to Love. She did say that she prefers the Silk Report, I believe. I mean, I'm only getting this on the grapevine, as someone once said, but I know she tunes into the Silk Report regularly. She can't always tune in for the watch-alongs. And you know what, Michelle? I'm all for Coco. And I'm going to be supporting Coco in that final. Not because I don't like Iga. I think she's amazing. She's funny. She's great. But I'm a bit... Women's tennis right now is just gone a bit flat. I'm wondering how long, and this is a question for you guys in the chat, how long before we get a bit bored of the Iga train? Because I want to see a rivalry. I want to see great matches. I want to see 3 sets. I want to see super tie breaks. I want to see long rallies. I want to see this. I want to see that. I want to see Ash Barty back for a start. But I also want to see Naomi Osaka back to her best. I want to see Raducanu reproducing her US Open form. I want to see Leila Fernandez continuing her upward trajectory. I want to see Coco Gauff continuing her trajectory too. And so much more. I want to see Halep back on form. I want to see Halep with a new good coach, someone who can actually coach. I want to see so much of this, and there's so much there. And it's just gone flat this year with Ash Barty retiring and Iga on this run. And we can don our cap and say amazing, but this is where I'm going to come back to Amelie Mesmo here. And Amelie Mesmo said recently, she said, listen, I get it. Maybe I could have done things better. And by the way, I admire her honesty a lot more than the politician than Craig Tiley in Australia. the whole politician thing of him just avoiding the question and not up front and blah, 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 blah. And I saw a very uncomfortable interview with him on Australian TV where he just was being asked questions and was just answering something completely different. Give me Amelie Mauresmo any day of the week compared to that, because at least she was up front and just trying to confront some of the issues that perhaps partly she created. But I will say this in her defense, that I want to see amazing matches on the women's side. And I need rivalries. I need competition. Iga's amazing. I hope that the final is an amazing final. I'll be tuning in. I'll be keen to see a 3-set match, a super tiebreaker, a match that has ebbs and flows. And if we have a match, a bit like last year's final was amazing fair. And it's a pity that Pavlyuchova was injured and will be injured for the remainder of the year. And was also a pity that Grajikova was not quite there for her first round match. I hope that we get the final that the women's game deserves right now. Finally, let's come to you in the chat. Jamie Drummer there, honesty admitting maybe you're wrong is much better than covering up. Completely. Give me Amelie Mauresmo any day of the week compared to other people in the same role. It's been only a few months since Barty retired and Swiatek took over. Someone step it up now. You're tired of all winning. I find this hilarious. Yeah, listen, I just want to see great, exciting tennis. Does my respect for Swiatek disappear? Of course not. Unbelievable player, unbelievable. And I just want to see other unbelievable players as well. And I want to see a competition. It's almost like the Tiger Woods thing, the Michael Schumacher thing, the Lewis Hamilton thing. You know, even if you're a big fan of theirs, you still like drama. And if you're a neutral, even more so. The WTA may have no choice but to get Barty back. Maybe, but I think there's plenty of other protagonists around. They're just not fulfilling their potential for one reason or another. You know, whether it be Bianca Andreescu, whether it be Simona Halep, whether it be Raducanu. There's so much talent, so much potential, so much excitement to be had. So many players in their late teens and in their early 20s as well. Coco Gauff being one of them. And I'm very excited, and I just hope we have an amazing final. Finally, in the chat, you need 2 great players for a great match. Otherwise, it's just a flawless nostalgia. Exactly. Listen, we're coming towards the end of day 13 at Roland Garros. We're coming towards the end of today's Silk Report. It's been a surreal day, given what happened, obviously, with Zverev's injury. It's been a surreal tournament on occasions. I just hope that we have 2 finals in the next 2 days that live up to this sport that we love so much. And I'm all for it. Roof closed, roof not closed. Let tennis be the winner. And that is the end of day 13's Silk Report. Thank you.
The Silk Report.